Gator, we'll start with when Michigan State has the ball. What's the approach? What's the game plan?
Well, I think it's to have you want to have long drawn out drives always, but I don't know if that's possible because they don't have a running game. So if you don't have a running game, you need some kind of a short passing game. We haven't seen Michigan State do a whole lot of jet sweeps, screen passes, bubble screens. We haven't seen a whole lot of that, and frankly, haven't seen a whole lot of action to the tight end, which really it bothers me because I think they have good pass-catching tight ends. They have guys who can make some plays after they have the ball in their hands. We haven't seen a whole lot of that. But it's going to have to come through the air if Michigan State has a chance. They've got deep threats, and they have intermediate and short threats. But do they have the time to throw the ball to those guys? Are those guys going to have enough time to make their moves, get open, and Peyton Thorne can hit them in stride? That's the big question because Michigan has a very physical defensive line, offensive line too, but their defensive line is very physical. They're very good, and they get in on you in a hurry. I don't think you're going to see the opportunity to set up and throw deep. He may have to throw deep and high and hope that receivers can catch up to it, pull the old Rocky Lombardi, Ricky White trick from a few years ago. But if they don't have time to throw, then they don't have a chance.
So Jim Harbaugh said this week that this is the best receiving core Michigan will have faced. And
I think that's accurate.
And yeah, would the other one be Maryland maybe? But Michigan State's passing offense versus Michigan's passing defense. It isn't just wide receivers versus secondary, right? Reed and Mosley and Keon Coleman, pretty damn good. And Michigan's secondary of DJ Turner and Jamon Green and Mikey Sainristil, the two corners and the nickel, those guys have also been pretty darn good. But the thing that I think is most shocking as we sit here 7 games into the Michigan season is last year, the question was, how do they replace the pass rush? They had 2 guys that probably both would have gone in the first round had Ajabo not gotten hurt during his pro day. 2 guys that were essentially first-round edge rushers. Last year, Michigan had 34 sacks through 14 games. This year, they're on pace to have 48 sacks, which is a bit surprising. But I go, okay, well, they played a weak non-conference schedule, right, which can skew the stats. And I always, we get to this point in the season when you've got an accumulation of Big Ten games. I think statistics that are more accurate as to who you actually are just your conference game statistics, right? Because you're talking about comparable competition, Power 5 competition. And, last year in Big Ten games, Michigan averaged 3 sacks a game with Ajabo and Hutchinson. This year in Big Ten games, they average 4 sacks a game. So even in Big Ten play, it's proving to be better. So it comes back to Michigan State's offensive line. As you pointed out, can they slow down this Michigan pass rush, which has been surprisingly, I don't even know if I want to call it better. Like the numbers are bigger. The numbers are bigger in non-conference game and conference games. I don't know that they have like nightmare matchups that other offensive coordinators lay awake and go, how do I stop Ajabo and Hutchinson? But they're just coming from a lot of different directions and a lot of different people providing the pass rush.
Now, I can go back to the game in 2004, which is the triple overtime game. What Michigan State was able to do in that game, they hit on a couple of, I think they were called the sprint draw play, basically is what it was. DeAndre Cobb ran for a couple of giant touchdown runs. They lull him with false insecurity, and then boom, here's a draw play, and he's gone. Is it something like that can get a couple of big plays out of the running game, which it just a conventional running game is going to happen. The other thing that happened in that game back in 2004, Drew Stanton ran wild against that Michigan defense right up to the point where he got knocked out of the game. Lamar Woodley tackles him, lands on his shoulder, and Drew's done. And Damon Dowdell came in, and he also ran a little bit in that game. But can Peyton Thorne, as a runner, be impactful in this game? Because we've seen Peyton Thorne in the past make some plays with his feet. Brian Lewerke made plays with his feet against Michigan. Is that the Achilles heel that the quarterback can take off and go? Because I just don't think the running game's there otherwise.
Yeah, look, Michigan State's the one way to slow down a pass rush, right, is to have a solid running game that needs to be accounted for. And that's one area where Michigan State doesn't have what they had a year ago. And we all know why.
Right.
Right? I mean, many of the same guys up front, but without Kenneth Walker, who was a special player, man. He was a special player.
And Peyton Thorne was a different quarterback last year. He was a healthy quarterback all season long and healthy receivers all season long.
And the threat of the run had to be accounted for.
Sure. But having Jalen Naylor there was pretty good too.
Yeah, and last year he threw for 27 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. This year he's got 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, which is
That's it.
Yeah.